Hi everybody, I'm Ezra. I help people understand medical marijuana, and you can find me at ezrahelps.com. I'm talking today about what to tell people who still are worried about cannabis legalization, legalization of marijuana. And many people, vast majority of people in the country believe in medical marijuana, but they're still worried about legalization in general. And this is a very reasonable concern. It's a drug that's been around for generations that we have thought is a dangerous, addictive drug. And those perceptions die hard. So I am an educator and a parent and someone who works with people who have marijuana use disorder and works in the industry. So I think it's important to really ask ourselves whether legalization is safe and okay. And my professional opinion is that vast legalization across the entire country will be a net benefit to communities. So if anybody is skeptical of the medical benefits, first of all, I always say type in cancer.gov into Google, write cancer.gov, and then type in cannabis or marijuana. And this is a federal website devoted to all of the research and educational tools around cancer. And they have a list of all of the studies that people access that deal with the benefits of medical cannabis. So this is a federal website that is showing what cannabis can do medically. So yes, we have a Schedule I drug in the United States. We believe the federal government's stance is that it has no medical benefits, but there are federal websites who will detail every last study of the medical benefits. So it's important people realize that. I also tell people type in the word cannabinoid and scholarly into a search engine, and you'll find that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of actual scientific studies on cannabis. You can even type in cannabinoid, scholarly, and an ailment. Type in pain, type in multiple sclerosis, type in anxiety, type in Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. There's so many different ailments that they've done studies on with cannabis, and you'll find that clearly it has medical benefits and should be legalized as medicine at the very least. And I also want to address the gateway issue. People say, oh, well, I don't want to legalize marijuana because it's a gateway drug to other drugs. So I think it's really important to ask ourselves, when we use language like that, what does it mean when we say gateway? A gateway is a metaphor. It is a metal fence that you open the gate and then you close the gate. So I always ask people to explain exactly what that means. And if it means, oh, you will smoke marijuana and then you'll want to use opiates, well, my response is, well, then opiates are on both sides of the gate. Opiates are available for prescription. Opiates are in many homes and many medicine cabinets. It's often the first thing that people access when they are seeking medications for pain, for example, not cannabis. So we have to ask ourselves, in a society that has an opiate epidemic, whether we really believe that there's something, this illegal drug is actually causing that to occur, and the evidence is against this. There have been studies that show that cannabis actually reduces opiate use, where communities that have licensed marijuana dispensaries show a reduction of prescriptions for opiates. They show a reduction of ER visits for opiate overdoses, and they show a reduction of people entering treatment for opiate abuse. So people in the cannabis community call it an exit drug from opiates. So The data is not in the favor of people who believe that cannabis is a gateway drug. I would also say, well, if we think about alcohol and tobacco, these are legal substances and they're very harmful. In fact, alcohol poisonings kill thousands of people a year, kill thousands of children a year in America. Cigarettes kill hundreds of thousands of people. We've legalized medical marijuana and legalized recreational marijuana in many states across the country. We still do not have any verified provable causal deaths from cannabis overdose. We do have an increase of ER visits, so if people say, well, there's been a lot more ER visits because of cannabis use. Well, this is because cannabis is a very powerful drug. You can eat a cannabis cookie and have such a strong high that you think something horrible is happening to you, and you go to the ER. What they'll do at the ER is make sure you're hydrated and tell you to rest because the outcome of the ER visit is what is in question here. The outcome of an ER visit for cannabis means that you get through your cannabis overdose. The outcome of an ER visit for eating Tide Pods, eating medication from the medicine cabinet, eating poisons or ingesting other poisons at home could be fatal. So cannabis is not a poisonous, toxic drug that shuts down organs or kills people. People also talk about marijuana use disorder. Marijuana use disorder is the idea that once you, or amotivational syndrome, the idea that if you start smoking pot, you'll be addicted to it and you won't be motivated to do anything. First of all, we can't say that it's a gateway drug to opiates, but that it also has marijuana use disorder, and that it's something that you become addicted to and you stay with, right? You become addicted to cannabis and then you just stick with that drug. Well, I do believe marijuana use disorder is an issue. We have to address it. Keeping the drug illegal does not educate people about it, and it does not present any solution to that. Marijuana use disorder is essentially what I call depression, where people are using cannabis to fight their emotional issues, fight their depression, fight their ennui or malaise that they're experiencing in their lives. And with legalization and education, people will better be able to talk about these issues and not hide them, and not hide that they are addicted to cannabis. That it will be a discussion that hopefully could happen in schools, can happen in the doctor's office, can happen in hospitals. Right now, schools, often doctor's offices and hospitals are following the federal stance that cannabis is a dangerous Schedule I drug. And so there's no real education occurring. And the people who are addicted to marijuana don't want to reveal that to practitioners or to the people who work at schools. And so the problem persists. Legalization, I believe, will help to address this problem. We also have, if we look at California and Washington, Colorado, Alaska, Oregon, the news out of those states is not the horrible scenario that many people painted. There is some evidence that there are more traffic fatalities where people have THC in their blood, they have the cannabis in their blood, but these are very skewed statistics. Essentially, if you have more people consuming cannabis and they are in accidents, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are causing the accidents, that their ingestion of cannabis is causing the fatalities. We've also had reductions in drinking. We've had reductions in fatalities. We've had reductions in teens accessing cannabis. And I think this is partly because as the stigma and risk involved in legal cannabis decreases, teens seek other things. They're not as interested in breaking the rules because grandma smokes pot and mom smokes pot and uncle smokes pot. And I think reducing that stigma of cannabis actually helps people helps families to realize, all right, well, the kids are not going to be sneaking away smoking pot. And if they did, we would still be reminded that they're far less likely to be harmed than if they're drinking alcohol, which is readily available and still legal. We also have to acknowledge the justice system. So anyone who believes that we should not legalize cannabis does not fully understand the toll that the drug war has taken on primarily communities of color and impoverished communities. When you make something illegal that is accessible everywhere, as cannabis is, the communities that have the most policing, the communities that have the fewest resources to hire good lawyers, etc., will be the brunt of those laws. And when we legalize cannabis laws, we reduce the toll on the justice system. We reduce the number of young people going to jail whose lives can be ruined by their experience in jail and have records that they can't get past and can't get jobs because they have felony drug charges because of cannabis. So legalizing cannabis will be very helpful in addressing the justice issue, the social justice issue, as well as the amount of resources that are occurring in the justice system. So when we make it legal, we have more education. We have more professionals like myself who are seeking to help others. I help families work with young people or people of all ages who might have marijuana use disorder, and how we combat that, how we change our intake of cannabis, how we learn how to take the right form of cannabis, etc. So if you're still against it, or if you still believe that legalization is the wrong thing, is dangerous for communities, that you don't want it in your town, then one, reach out to me. Go to EzraHelps.com. I'm happy to talk to anyone. And also really ask yourself, what is the data that you're accessing? Is the data comparable to the data we have for drugs, alcohol, and other issues or vices that are already legal? Is cannabis actually more dangerous than those? And I think that if you are really interested in data, if you're interested in scientific fact, then you will find that cannabis is far more benign than many household items that are legal and accessible to children and adults alike. If you still don't believe in cannabis legalization, then I would ask you to really search within yourself to wonder, what is your judgment coming from? Is it coming from stereotype? Do you know people who use cannabis? What is their culture? What are they contributing or not contributing to their communities? And I think if you enter and acknowledge the cannabis industry with a open mind, then you'll find that it is a very productive segment of society. These are people who are generally healthy members of their community. We do have some people who abuse the drug, but it has far less the harm than other drugs. That sums up today's livecast. Thanks for joining me. I will see you, actually I won't be here next week. Thanks for tuning in, and catch me next time. Take care.